Hello all my dear students. I welcome you all to Shri Jendra Rank Zone classes and I am your facilitator Amit Ajmani. So students, I hope you all are doing good and you all are studying well. Now in the previous class, as you are all aware that we have completed the chapter Pressure and Archimedes Principle. I hope you all must have gone through it and learnt it thoroughly. Today, in this class, we will be discussing the question answers related to this chapter. So I hope you are all prepared and ready to go. So let's face the first question. Now this is a very important question which has been asked many times. Please try to relate. An object is put in three liquids having different densities, one by one. Now the object floats with 1 by 9th, 2 by 11th and 3 by 7th parts of its volume outside the surface of liquid of densities D1, D2 and D3 respectively. What we are asked is which of the following is the correct order of the densities of the three liquids. Now this is a very important question. As I told you, it has been asked many times. Now we know, we have studied that the denser liquids will exert more buoyant force, and if more buoyant force is acted upon the object, then in that case it is going to float on the surface of liquids. So if we try to relate, then we can see that this object, when it is put in these three liquids with densities D1, D2 and D3, it is floating with 1 by 9th, 2 by 11th and 3 by 7th part of its volume outside the surface. Now 3 by 7th is the maximum volume outside. So that means this particular liquid is exerting the maximum buoyant force among these three. Then out of 1 by 9 and 2 by 11, 2 by 11 is greater than 1 by 9 and 1 by 9 is the least value. So we conclude that the density of this third liquid is the greatest. After that, this second liquid with density D2 is greater as compared to the density D1, right? So the sequence is that D3 is greater density as compared to D2 and D2 is greater than D1. So let us see what are the options. In the first option we are given D1 is greater than D2, D2 is greater than D3, which is wrong. Next is D2 is greater than D3, which is again wrong. Next is D1 is less than D2, which is correct, and D2 is less than D3. So this has been written in this particular way, that D3 has the maximum density, then it is the D2 and then the first liquid having density D1, right? So this will be our correct option. Got it? This is our right answer. Clear? In the fourth option, I think that there must be some misprinting, because in this option also we are given the same thing, that it is D3 greater than D2 and greater than D1. So these both the options are actually correct, right? But why we are writing this option C? Because we have to write the correct order of the densities. So if we are going to write these in the correct order, That means in the increasing order, we will be writing the least density first, then the greater, and then the greatest. So out of C and D, why we are preferring C and not D, you need to relate that. Because of this reason, this is important, right? This is a very important question. I have seen myself this question as it is coming in 3 or 4 examination papers. Let us come to the next question now. Which of the following physical quantity has no unit? Let us see. Relative density. Relative density is unitless. Mass has a unit expressed in grams kilograms. Pressure has a unit Pascal or Newton per meter square. So it is our relative density. Option number A is the correct answer. Coming to the next question. Question number 3. An ice cube is floating in glass of water. What happens to the water level when the ice melts completely? Will it rise, or it falls, or it remains same, or it first rises and then falls? Now the correct answer is that the water level is going to remain same. Why? Because when the ice cube was floating in glass of water, it was displacing water equal to the buoyant force. But when it melts, then in that case, that particular space that it was displacing now will be filled with water, and hence the water level will remain the same. Normally students write the answer to be A, that is rises. They feel that when the ice cube will melt, it is going to raise, but that is not correct. So make sure you know the right answer and the logic behind it, right? Coming to the next question. A wooden piece is completely immersed in water. The upthrust of water on the wooden piece in comparison to the weight of piece will be. The option given are more or less or equal or zero. Now we know that if a wooden piece is immersed in water, then in that case it is going to float on the surface. Why it is floating on the surface? The reason is that the upthrust of water is more, which is keeping the wooden piece afloat. So the upthrust is more as compared to the weight of the wooden piece. So the correct answer is A. Let's see the next question. A piece of wood floats in water. What happens to the piece of wood when it floats in alcohol? Will it float higher, or it stays as before sinks, or it sinks, or it sinks and rises? Only there are two options, whether it is going to float or it is going to sink. But we know that the density of alcohol is less as compared to water, and because of that there will be less buoyant force exerted by alcohol, because of which this piece of wood is going to sink in alcohol. So C will be the correct answer. Let's see the next question. An object of wood has a weight W and volume V. The apparent weight of object after the object is made to float on water will be. Now, if this wooden object is floating on the surface of water, then the apparent weight will be 0. Why? Because of the upthrust, because of the buoyant force which is applied by the water. So C will be the right answer to this question. Coming to the next question, students. The buoyant force depends on the, we have studied there were two factors on which buoyant force depended. One is the volume of the object and another is the density of the liquid. So let us see the options. Depth of a liquid? No. Color of the liquid? No. Density of the liquid? Yes. None of the above? No. So it is density of a liquid. Along with this, you need to remember that buoyant force or the upthrust also depends upon the volume of the object. And by side, you also need to remember that the buoyant force does not depend on the nature of material of the object. So all these things you need to keep in mind, right? Coming to the next question. The buoyant force will be exerted on the body when? When will the buoyant force act? Will it act if the body is immersed partially and displaces same amount of liquid, or the body is not immersed in liquid, or the body is immersed fully in liquid, or the body is immersed partially? So we know that the buoyant force and especially the maximum buoyant force will act when the body is immersed fully in the liquid. So C is the right answer. Let's get to see the next question. The pressure in the bottle filled with water is maximum. Where is the pressure in the bottle which is filled with water maximum? Is it in the middle of the bottle, or at the top of the bottle, or first at the top then in the middle, or in the bottom? And we know that the pressure exerted by water will be maximum in the middle of the bottle. So A is the right answer. Clear? Let's see the next question now. From the adjacent figure, the correct observation is. Now the adjacent figure is missing, I suppose. Let us see the options if we can make out of it. The pressure on the bottom of tank A is greater than that of the bottom of B, or the pressure on the bottom of the tank A is smaller than that the bottom of B. The pressure depends on the shape of the container, or the pressure on the bottom of A and B is the same. Now the figure is missing, so let me draw the figure for you. This is the container A given to us, and this is the container B given to us. Water is filled in both the containers. Now let us try to relate the question and the options again. The question and the options are: the pressure on the bottom of tank A is greater than that of the bottom B. It's not like that. The pressure on the bottom of tank A is smaller. No, because the pressure does not depend on the shape of the container. And that is why B is the correct option, that the pressure on the bottom of A and B is the same. Got it? Let us see the next question. An iceberg of density 900 kilogram per meter cube is floating in water of density 1000 kilogram per meter cube. Now the percentage of the volume of ice cube outside the water will be. We need to calculate what percentage will be outside the water. Now for that we need to make a few calculations first. First of all, let us relate that the total volume of iceberg that is floating in water is V and the density is represented by rho. Now, if this iceberg is floating with the volume, let us take that volume inside to be V1. Then in that case, we can relate that the volume inside multiply by nu and g will be equal to V into rho into g. So from here we can relate G and G will be cancelled out. So we can relate that V1 is equal to, this is nu minus rho upon nu multiply by G, taking it common. Now taking the ratio out of it, we can relate it to be, now this is the expression for the volume inside. If we want to relate the ratio between volume outside and volume inside, how we can calculate is, we can calculate to be the density minus rho upon rho. We know that the density of water is 1000 given in the question, minus density of the substance is 900 divided by again the density which is 1000. So this comes out to be 100 upon 1000, which is equal to 10%. So 10% is the correct answer. C option is the right one. You need to simply calculate it with the formula for volume. So if you apply the formula for the volume, which we already know what exactly is the formula for volume and the upward force. We know that the upward force or the buoyant force is equal to volume multiplied by the density into G. This is what we need to relate. So first of all calculate what is the upward force, then try to relate the volume, the ratio of volume outside and inside, and after that it is just simple calculations with which you can relate the answer, and which comes out to be 10% in this particular case. Clear? Coming to the next question. The piece of wood of 28 centimeter cube volume and the piece of glass of 1 centimeter cube volume are tied to each other. Now the density of wood is 0.6 gram per centimeter cube and the density of glass is 11.3 gram per centimeter cube. According to the calculation, both piece will, what will happen? The options given to us are, will they swim in water or sink in water or sink in the middle or none of these. So these are the four options given to us in this particular question. Now what will happen is, if we are going to tie a piece of glass with a piece of wood, then they are going to swim in water, because the density of wood is quite less, 0.6 gram per centimeter cube, and the piece of wood is quite big as compared to the piece of glass. Clear? So they are going to swim in water if they are tied together? The answer is option number A. Let us come to the next question. A body floats in a liquid contained in a beaker if the whole system falls freely under gravity. Then the upthrust on the body due to this particular liquid will be. Now we know that the upthrust, the formula we have simply seen, that is equal to the V into density into G. Right. Now here we can also relate it to be G minus A, where A is the downward acceleration and V is the volume of liquid displaced. But when we talk about free fall, then A will be equal to 2G, because of which the upthrust will become 0. So if a body is floating in a liquid contained in a beaker, the liquid would have been exerting some upthrust. But if the whole system is allowed to fall freely, then in that case, now the upthrust of the liquid on the body will be 0. It will not be equal to the weight of liquid displaced, or it will not be equal to weight of the body in air. Right? Next question. An aircraft is moving with a velocity of 300 meter per second. Now this is the velocity with which the aircraft is moving. All forces acting on it are balanced. Then in that case, what will happen? Let us see the options. It still moves with the same velocity. It will just be floating at the same point in space. It will fall down instantaneously, or it will lose its velocity gradually. Now this is quite simple if you know the concept, that if all the forces acting are balanced, then in that case there will be no change in the velocity of the object. If the velocity is 0, it will remain 0, and if the velocity is 300 meter per second, it will remain 300 meter per second. So option number A is the correct answer, that it still moves with the same velocity. Got it? Let's see the next question. A box of mass 10 kilograms, mass is given to us, has as base area of 1 meter square. We have to find the pressure exerted by it on the ground. Clear? So now in this question, we have been given the mass and we have been given the area. We know that pressure is equal to force upon area. Area is given to us, and for force, we know that what is the force? Force is equal to M into A or M into G upon area. Simply putting the values, we will get M is given to be 10 kilogram. The value of G rounded off taken as 10 divided by area is 1, comes out to be 100 Pascal. So A, 100 Pascal is the answer that we are going to mark for this question. Coming to the next one. A beaker containing a liquid is kept inside a big closed jar. If the air inside the jar is continuously pumped out, then the pressure in the liquid near the bottom of the liquid will, options given to us are, will it increase, or will it remain constant, or will it decrease, or will it first decrease and then increase. Now if the air inside the jar is continuously pumped out, then in that case the pressure in the liquid near the bottom of the liquid will decrease. B is the right answer. Got it? Let us see the next question. The relative densities of four liquids P, Q, R and S are 1.26, 1.0, 0.84 and 13.6 respectively. So we can see that S is the densest medium having maximum density and R is having the least density. Now, an object is floated in all these liquids one by one. In which liquid the object will float with its maximum volume submerged under the liquid. Now, if we want to know the value of the maximum volume submerged, that means it is the least buoyant force acted upon the object, and the least buoyant force will be acted by that liquid which is having the least density. And out of these P, Q, R and S, we already have related that R has got the least density, because of which R is going to exert the minimum buoyant force, because of which the object is going to float, but it will have its maximum volume submerged under the liquid. So the answer is R. Got it? Let's see the next question. Now, there are two statements given to us in this. We have to relate the statements. Let us see the first statement. A piece of ice floats in water. The level of water remains unchanged when the ice melts completely. This statement is true. This is what we have seen in one of the questions already. So the statement A is true. Let us see the next statement. According to Archimedes' principle, the loss in weight of the body in the liquid is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by the immersed part of the body. Again, this statement is also true. This is what exactly Archimedes' principle stated, that the loss in weight of the body is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by it. So let us see the options. Both A and B are true. Exactly. The very first option is our answer, but let us see the other options also. Both A and B are false. No, they both are true. A is true, B is false. Again an incorrect option. A is false. Again an incorrect option. Both A and B are true. Got it? Let us see the next question. An object weighs 10 Newton in air. Now when immersed fully in a liquid, it weighs only 8 Newton. So there is a decrease of 2 Newton. The weight of the liquid displaced by the object will be. This is what we have just studied in the Archimedes principle, that the loss in weight will be equal to the weight of liquid displaced. What exactly is the loss in weight of this object? It was of 10 Newton in air. In liquid it is of 8 Newton. So the loss is weight is 2 Newton, and hence the weight of liquid displaced will also be 2 Newton according to the Archimedes principle. Clear? Let's come to the next question. A rectangular wooden block has length and breadth and height of 50 centimeters, 25 centimeters and 10 centimeters respectively. The wooden block is kept on ground in three different ways, turn by turn. Which of the following is the correct statement about the pressure exerted by this block on the ground? Now for this, first of all, we need to relate the concept that pressure is inversely proportional to area. So if the area is more, the pressure exerted will be less. How to calculate area? Because it is a rectangular wooden block, it will be length into breadth. Now let us see the options. First option is the maximum pressure is exerted when the length and breadth form the base. No, because the length is 50 and breadth is 25. When we will multiply and calculate the area, it is the largest possible one. So it is going to exert the minimum pressure. Let's see the second option. The maximum pressure is exerted when the length and height form the base. Length is 50, height is 10. So it will be area will be 500 centimeters square. Again, it is more as compared to the breadth and height. So this time also it won't be the maximum value. The third option is the maximum pressure is exerted when breadth and height form the base. Now this is the correct option. Why? Because out of these length, breadth and height, if we multiply the breadth and height, breadth is 25, height is 10, the area comes out to be 250, which is the minimum possible value. And since pressure is inversely proportional to area, so if the area is minimum, obviously the pressure will be maximum. So C is the right option. Let us try to relate the D option also. In this, we have given the minimum pressure is exerted when the length and height form the base. Length and height, no. The minimum will be when the area is going to be maximum. This will be when length and breadth are forming the base. So in this question, C is the right option. Clear? Coming to the next question. An object is put in three liquids having different densities one by one. The object floats with 1 by 9, 2 by 11, 3 by 7 part of its volume outside the surface of liquids of densities D1, D2 and D3 respectively. Which of the following is the correct order of the densities of the three liquids? Exactly the same question, question number 1 of our today's class. In this, we know that A and B options are wrong. The option C and D both are correct, but out of these, we will be choosing C because we have to write it in the correct order of the densities. So first of all, we'll be writing the minimum, not the maximum, as given in D option. So C is the right answer. Coming to the next question. A metal in which even iron can float. Now, iron is in itself quite a heavy metal, and if we are saying that it is floating, that means whichever metal we are taking, it must be very dense, having very high density, so that it is applying such a great buoyant force which is keeping even the iron afloat. And out of the given options sodium, magnesium, mercury and manganese, we know it is the mercury metal. Mercury is having a great density because of which it can even make the iron float on its surface. Let us see the next question. Four balls A, B, C and D displace 10 ml, 24 ml, 15 ml and 12 ml of a liquid respectively when they are immersed completely. Now we can relate that the amount of liquid displaced by them depends on the volume, right? Because the liquid is same, so the buoyant force acting will be same on all these four balls. So out of these we can see that the ball A is displacing the minimum possible amount out of all these four, minimum value of water displaced. That means it has the smallest volume. And the ball B is displacing the maximum amount, which means it has the largest volume. Now the question is not about volume, the question is the ball which will undergo the maximum apparent loss in weight will be. Now here he is again asking us to apply the Archimedes principle, in which we have related that the loss in weight of the liquid is equal to the amount of liquid displaced by this object. So obviously if the amount of liquid displaced by the ball B is maximum, therefore it will have the maximum apparent loss in weight. So it will be the ball B, which will be the correct answer to this question. Fine. Coming to the next question. Again, this is a repeated question. The relative densities of four liquids P, Q, R and S are given to us: 1.26, 1.0, 0.84 and 13.6 respectively. An object is floated in all these liquids one by one, and in which liquid the object will float with its maximum volume submerged under the liquid. We know that it will be liquid R. Why? Because liquid R has the minimum density among all these four, and because of its lowest density it will be exerting the lowest buoyant force, due to which that object is going to get submerged in the liquid. So the answer is R. Coming to the next question. Now try to relate. A solid of density 900 kilogram per meter cube floats in oil as shown in the given diagram. So this is a solid which is floating on the surface of oil, as we can see in figure number 1. The oil floats on water of density 1000 kilogram per meter cube. Now this oil is actually floating over water, right? Now the density of oil in kilogram per meter cube could be, is it 850, 900, 950 or 1050? Now this is a very nice good question. Just a simple concept. Just try to relate the figure number 2. We have water whose density is 1000. Then we have oil whose density we don't know. And then we have the solid which is floating on the surface of oil having density 900. Right? Now, if this is floating over oil, that means the density of oil is greater than that of the density of solid. That is why this solid is getting afloat. So it cannot be 850. Again, it cannot be 900, because if it had been 900, the solid would not have been floating on the surface but have been submerged, right? Now, it cannot be 1050, because had it been 1050, the oil would not have floated over the surface of water. If the oil is floating on the surface of water, that means the density of oil is less than that of water. So the density of oil is more than the solid, which is 900 kilogram per meter cube. The density of oil is less than the density of water, which is 1000. So the density of oil needs to be in between that of the solid and water, which is 950 kilogram per meter cube. So C is the correct answer. Correct. Coming to the next question. Choose the correct unit for the relative density among the following. We know that relative density is the density of the substance divided by the same density of water, and therefore there is no unit of relative density. It is unitless. It is always expressed in pure figure form, pure number. Clear? So B is the option you are going to mark, that the unit of relative density is unitless. Let's see the next question. The density of water is 1000 kilogram per meter cube, and the density of copper is 8900 kilogram per meter cube. Which of the following statements is incorrect? Let us see the options given to us. The density of certain volume of copper divided by the density of same volume of copper of water is 8.9. This is relative density. This is a correct statement. Next, the volume of certain mass of copper divided by the volume of same mass of water is 8.9. This is the incorrect statement, because relative density is the ratio of the density or the mass or the weight, not the volume. Let us see the next option. The weight of certain volume of copper divided by the weight of same volume of water is 8.9. Correct statement. The mass of certain volume of copper divided by the mass of same volume of water is 8.9. This is also correct. So the incorrect statement is B. Fine. Coming to the next question. Now, the diagram represents four measuring cylinders containing liquids. As we can see, we have W, X, Y, Z. The mass and volume of the liquid in each cylinder are stated. Let us see. The mass is 80 gram, volume is 100 centimeter cube. Mass is 100 gram, volume is 100 centimeter cube. Mass is 100 gram, volume is 80 centimeter cube. And mass is 80 and volume is also 80. Now, which two measuring cylinders could contain the identical liquids? If we are trying to find out identical liquids, we can simply check out their densities. We know that density is equal to mass per unit volume. So if we try to calculate for W, it is mass 80 by volume 100. For X, it is 100 by 100. For Y, it is 100 by 80. And for Z, it is 80 by 80. So I think the rest of the answer you yourself can give. It is the X and the Z because their actual density is same, that is 1 gram per centimeter cube, and this is practically the density of water, right? W has a density of 8 by 10, Y has a density of 10 by 8. So the liquid X and the liquid Z are having the same density of 1 gram per centimeter cube, and hence they are identical. Clear? Now let us see the next question. An object having mass equal to 350 gram occupies 200 centimeter cube of the space. Mass is given to us, volume is given to us. So we can calculate the density, mass per unit volume, that is 350 by 200. Now, when this object is thrown into a river, what will be the condition of this object there? Density of water is given to be 1 gram per centimeter cube. The options given are: it will float on the surface of water, it will float fully submerged in the liquid, it will sink in the liquid, it will float partially submerged in the liquid. Now all these options we can relate when we know the density of this substance. Density is mass upon volume. Mass is 350 gram, volume is 200 centimeter cube. So we can relate that it comes out to be 1.725 gram per centimeter cube. Now since the density of this liquid is 1.725, which is more than the density of water, therefore, this will sink in water. So we are going to mark C as the right answer. And why it is sinking? Because we know that there are three cases. If the density is more, then it is going to sink in water. If its density is less, it will float at the surface of water, and if its density is equal, it will float but in between, submerged in the water, in the middle. So in this, because the density of this object is more than the density of water, it is going to sink. So option C is the one that we are going to mark. Fine. Now in the next question, we are given a table which represents the mass and volume data of three liquids named ABC, rather it is four liquids ABCD. Can you find which two liquids are identical? Liquid A, liquid B, liquid C, liquid D. Mass of liquid A is 80, volume is 100 centimeter cube. Mass of B is 100, volume is 100. C is 80 and 80, and D is 100 by 80. It is exactly the same question as we have seen above, but just the representation has been changed. The way the question has been asked is different. Over there, we were given to a figure ABCD in which we were given the mass and volumes. Here it is the tabular format, but the answer and the way remains the same. If we want to know which among these are identical liquids, just try to calculate the density, which is mass upon volume. So the density of A is 80 by 100, B is 100 by 100, C is 80 by 80, and D is 100 by 80. So which of these two are same? B and C. Why? Because the density of both is 1 gram per centimeter cube. So out of the given options, option number B, that is B and C, is the correct answer. Got it? Coming to the next question. The school bags are generally provided with the broad strips because we know the reason is simple, because pressure is inversely proportional to area. So by providing broad strips, we are actually increasing the area so as to decrease the pressure on the shoulders of the students. Now let us find out what exactly are the reasons given in the options so that we can check the appropriate answer. The first is it will spread the force of the bag over the large area of the shoulder of the child, producing large pressure. Obviously not, we want to decrease the pressure. Next option is it will spread the force of the bag over the large area of the shoulder of the child, producing less pressure. Exactly. This is the right answer. But let us try to relate the other options as well. It has become a trend among the students to carry the bags with wide strips. Not at all. It will spread the force of the bag over the small area of the shoulder. No, it is going to increase the area of force. So B is the answer. Coming to the next question. When a piece of cork is put into the water, it starts floating on the surface of water due to the upward buoyant force from water. We already know the reason behind it. Now let us come to the question. If the cork is pushed more inside the water by applying the force more than that the buoyant force, then what will happen? The buoyant force acting on the cork will increase as the cork is immersed into the water, or it will decrease as the cork is immersed into the water, or it will first increase and then decrease, or it will remain the same as long as the cork is inside the water. Now we already know that the pressure exerted by the liquids increase with depth. So if this cork is pushed deeper into the water, then the buoyant force will increase. So A is the right answer. Clear? Coming to the next question. Why the dam of water reservoir is thick at the bottom? This we have already studied in the everyday observations related to pressure. And if you remember, we applied the same concept there, that pressure is inversely proportional to area. Over there we have studied that the foundations of the dams and the buildings are made very wide. Why so? Because by increasing the area of the foundation, then the pressure of the building or the concrete made above that structure's pressure is reduced, right? So the reason of having a thick dam of water reservoir at the bottom is to reduce the pressure by increasing the area. Let us see the right options. Quantity of water increases with depth, nothing to relate with it. Density of water increases with depth, nothing related to it. Pressure of water increases with depth. This is the answer, that it is all related to reducing the pressure. Nothing to do, of course, with the temperature also. So the right option is C. Pressure of water increases with depth. Clear? Coming to the next. And the last question of this chapter, question number 34. Let us read it first. Two pieces of metal, when immersed in a liquid, have equal upthrust on them. Now they are having equal upthrust. They are immersed in the same liquid. So the liquid being same is going to apply equal upthrust only when the volume of these two metal pieces is same. Buoyant force, we have discussed that it depends on two factors. One is the density of the liquid. Now the liquid is same, so not much of a problem with that. Nothing differentiated by way of density. The second thing is the volume of the object immersed, right? Now if the volume is same, then the same buoyant force will be acted on both, regardless of the nature of the material of the metal, right? So let us relate the options given to us. The first option is both pieces must have equal weights. Nothing to relate with the weights. Both pieces must have equal densities. No. Third option is both pieces must have equal volumes. Yes, this is our answer, that both pieces must have equal volumes. Last option is both are floating to the same depth. No. It is because both the pieces must be having the same volumes, because of which they are going to experience an equal upthrust. Got it? So option number C is the correct option for this question number 34. So this is the last question that we have discussed, and this is all about our chapter pressure and Archimedes principle. While doing these questions, obviously you must be knowing the answers of lot many. Very nice. The more the better. Wherever you were wrong because of any particular reason, I hope that now, because you have understood, because you have learned, so you must have related where and why exactly you were wrong and how to rectify it. So now onwards, you won't be making that mistake again. That is what I assume. Clear? And in case you feel that there are a few topics or any particular topic which you are not yet fully prepared with, or you are not yet fully confident about, you must have related that topic. Just make sure that you open up your books and you do that particular topic thoroughly. Revise the chapter once again properly, so that you are able to relate the answers of all these questions which we have discussed. Clear? So this is all about our chapter pressure and Archimedes principle, right? In the next class we'll be taking up a new chapter, and by that time I really assume that all of you will be through and thorough with this particular chapter. Clear, everyone? So I hope you have understood each and everything and will make utilization by learning them. So let's catch up in the next class. Ending up this class, we'll meet you soon with a new and a fresh topic. Till then, take care of yourself and have a great time. Goodbye, everyone.